tutorial is going to deal with email feedback. In other tutorials we talked about looking and getting feedback from the results tab. We went through creating them. But today we're going to talk about if somebody fills out a form, how do we get notified instantly via email with the information that they filled out. To begin with, we are going to look at the options below the web form. So I clicked on the web form that I have in the fields that we dragged over as well. And we also have a tab here that we haven't talked about below the top tabs called emails. This is the section you use to get notified via email. Address you want to be notified. So if I myself wanted to be notified, I would put my email address in here. We can also send a notification to an email provided in the form, and I'll go through why you'd want to do that possibly later, but in most cases we're just going to put our email address in this top field and click the add button. Once this is done, I get a series of options. For the most time, we don't need to modify any of this. What do we want the email subject to be? Here's the default subject. What do we want the email from address to be? Here's the email from address to be. What do we want the email from name to be? Viterbo University is the default. So these are fine for me when I get submitted values from this form. For the most part, this is fine. I will be able to see that this is a form from this conference registration or a submission from this conference registration form. So that's fine with me. The detailed template, I also am going to leave this alone. This gives you a few different tidbits of information along with the list of values on the form that will be sent out. We can also, in this option, to include all attachments in the web form. This will allow us, if somebody submitted a Word document for a conference paper or something along those lines, to get the email sent as an attachment. The other options in here are to exclude values. So, for example, if you had them enter a social security number but you weren't comfortable with that coming across on an email, you could uncheck that box so that that information does not get submitted via email but is still in the secure web server. And I'm going to click Save here. So now we see that email address is set up to send a form submission to here every time the field happens. But I'm going to do another example. Suppose I wanted something that's often considered an email receipt. So the user filled out their email address. This is the email field on the form. And I'm going to say I want to send an email to that person, the person who filled out the form. I'm going to click Add. In the email information, we have here set their address, but we don't want to say default from form submission for the subject. We want to say something a little bit more personal. So email receipt for conference. So they get something that says that in the subject. We also want to change this most likely to my email, so it looks like it's coming from me if I am the conference organizer or whatever event this happens to be. Email from name, Viterbo University is probably fine in this case. We could, though, put my personal name in to be a little bit more personal. Also, in this case, while this was fine for us looking at the submitted values, it's not really great for the user. So I'm going to get rid of the submitted on date. I'm going to get rid of the submitted by user. And I'm going to get rid of the submitted values are. And I'm going to say, thank you for registering for the great conference. There's a spell check fix. And now we have, after that, submission values. That's the list of values that you see. I'm going to leave that there for now. But I'm going to get rid of the results can be viewed at the URL because that's not of use. But suppose I want them to see some values. I'm going to leave that submission values in there. And I can click here and decide I don't want all the information going to the user. They just filled out the form. But I want them to have this, let's say, I want them to just get one particular information. I'm going to click the date information field. And I'm going to say you submitted, you registered I can't spell for the conference on, again, all right, on colon. What this will do will allow you to send that information back to the user as a receipt. So they'll have the date in this example of the event they registered for as the email receipt. It's something that is often done. So now we have two emails set. One to the user thanking them, and another to me notifying myself that the conference organizer of the information that the user submitted. So that's the basics of getting emails set up. In a further example, we'll talk about creating templated email responses so that you can do even more personalized responses to users. Thank you.